It's a dating show. Joe Shane, I'm like too old for schedule release videos. There's like all this going on. I'm like, what are these people I'm supposed to know? Are these TikTokers? What's going on? How are you? You're smiling. You don't want to duke it out with Mike North about the schedule?
No, he's talking about the bye week. Last year we had a bye week and then we had a short week right after it. So we had two quick games after a bye, and we actually did have some injuries in those games. So it was fun that.
Do you think that there's truth to that? Like I had never even thought of that concept, and now we're talking about adding two. But would you would want two if you had 18, right?
Yeah. I mean, of course, but the league does a great job, looking at the medical data and the player safety. So, they do a lot of research on that. They understand the numbers and what's best for the players, and the player safety is always going to take precedent. So I know they do a lot of work on that. So if it eventually we would of course take that, because you always want your roster the best, and there's going to be roster attrition and injury. So the extra bye would definitely help.
It's good to see you. That video is roasting every team on the schedule, on the docket for the Giants. A little bulletin board material. I like the bravado. When you saw the full schedule, whenever you did, where do your eyes as a GM immediately go?
Yeah, right at the beginning, you want to get off to a fast start. That's something we did in 2022, and we haven't the last 2 years. So, you'd always like to get off to a fast start if you can. And we have two division games there with Washington and Dallas right out of the gate, and then a primetime game at home. So again, you got to play them all, just a matter of when and where. And, short weeks, you're always looking at short weeks and primetime games and some of those things. Where's the bye? Ours is obviously late. But again, the teams that you're going to play. It's just a matter of how they fall and where they fall in the schedule. But, I always look at the first quarter of the season, the first 4 games, and, you'd like to get out to a fast start.
I mean, yeah, 2 road division games. We should tell the world. You've got the Chiefs in primetime, 3 playoff teams in your first 4 games. Toughest schedule, which you knew that you were going to have going into this. Do you enjoy that? How are you and Dable sort of embracing that to start the season?
Yeah, there's nothing we can do about it. It is what it is, and we have to control the controllables. And, we're going to focus on us right now this time of year and bringing the guys together. We have some new players, rookies, and free agents that we signed. So really just starting to build the team culture and the continuity amongst the guys that we have. And each year it's different, and, there's a lot of roster turnover year to year. So right now we're just focused on us, and, we like some of the pieces that we brought in this offseason. And as those guys continue to gel, we'll be ready to go at the start of the season.
3rd overall pick, Abdul Carter in the building. I keep seeing pictures. I got to meet him. I get to hang out with him at the rookie premiere on Saturday as well. What have you noticed about him as he's been in the building that you didn't in the short time you got to spend with him in the process?
Yeah, really just the work ethic. You get to see it now. You hear about it and how much he loves football, and he's constantly working. So our rookies are in there early in the morning, the first lift group. So to see him in there working, doing the extra after, the field work. So you hear about it, but when you take a guy where we took Abdul at number 3, and you see a guy that's doing all the right things when he's in the building, that's what's most impressive. And that's really what you want when you're going to invest the 3rd pick in a player.
I really love this defense, and I don't think enough people, I don't know if you want to keep it under the radar because everyone's talking about Dart and the offense. This defense is really good. You've made some huge pickups, adding Javon Holland and Paulson. He can make an immediate impact at corner. I expect that, especially with that gauntlet to start the season. I really do think that you've put together one of the better defenses in the league. Am I getting ahead of myself as we take a look at some of these moves?
Okay, well, I appreciate you saying that. On paper, I like some of the pieces. Again, we still got to come together and gel as a whole. But yeah, Javon Holland, a guy that we added from Miami, has been a productive player in this league. Also provides some leadership, ball skills. Paulson Adebo is the same boat. A lot of career production in terms of interceptions and PBUs. Provides some leadership for us. And then, you look up front, some of the additions, the ability to get after the quarterback and some of the players that we don't have up there with Burns, Dexter, Kayvon. So, on paper, I like the defense. There's some good players, good leadership, some guys with vet experience, and some young guys. Then we have players that are going into year 2 that played well year 1 that I'm excited to see how a Tyler Nubin, a Drew Phillips play this year going into their second year. They've had good off seasons. They've been around a lot. They've been working hard. So, add the new guys with some of the guys that were here, and I'm excited to see what those guys can do.
Some continuity with the DC. You got Shane back. I like that you picked up Tibbs' 5th-year option. Some people thought maybe he's out because Abdul is now in the mix. How do you envision Kayvon's role?
Yeah, all those guys. There's going to be ways that we can get them on the field together. Obviously, Abdul has some versatility. He played off the ball when he was at Penn State. So, we've dropped Kayvon before. We've dropped Burns. There's just versatility amongst those groups. So Shane's doing a good job of, how he's going to envision those guys on the field at times. Sometimes you're going to be against mobile quarterbacks where, maybe some of those guys spy, or there's a lot of different scheme fits that we can use with these guys because they do have the versatility and they're all smart enough to learn multiple jobs. So I'm excited about it. Shane is too. And, they've been up in the lab upstairs and in the defensive meeting room looking at how they're going to use all these guys.
And then, of course, your son Carson, who we know is a proficient quarterback scout, like Jaden Daniels. Now you bring in Abdul Carter to suck the soul out of him twice a year. How's he taking that?
Yeah, he's always going to root for me first, so he's fired up. But him playing quarterback, he's got his favorite quarterbacks around the league, and I appreciate that because I think we were all like that growing up. So I would never take that away from him. But he's always rooting for me, and he liked the Abdul Carter pick.
Good. I think Giants fans earnestly, I have hundreds of comments from people. They earnestly want to know what he thinks of Jackson Dart, like what the scouting report is of your son, since, he seems to be proficient in the area. Yeah,
no, he is. And he likes to study these guys. And I love his passion for the game, but he's a fan of Jackson. Again, I have a daughter that goes to school there. So you naturally become a fan of where your kids go to school. So we were able to follow him, and I've taken him to the Manning Passing Academy in Louisiana the last couple of summers, and he gets to be around these kids. So I just think he looks up to any of these kids that are Division I athletes, and idolizes them. And Jackson was good to him the couple of times he's met him. So he likes the pick as well. Carson was on board with that.
I love it. Carson knows ball. He can play a little bit too. He's a quarterback at Don Bosco. We saw a video of him practicing. I need the scouting mode. Okay, Joe, break down Carson's form for me.
Oh Lord, where do y'all find this stuff? He's supposed to be. Oh Lord, yeah, no, he's working really hard at it right now. Nobody coaches him harder than me. So he works actually with Matt Sims, which is Phil Sims' kids, every now and then, and QB Country and some other guys. He's working hard about it. But he's got a long way to go. He's in a competition right now. So again, just like us, he's got to focus on himself and control what he can control.
Why did that elicit an "Oh Lord"?
It's just the social media world. We don't need to post every video that we're working out and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's just different era.
Yeah. I don't know, man. The Giants are crushing it on socials. Like when I'm watching this stuff with Jackson, or even just the release of the war room and the draft stuff, I obviously thought of you because you and I talked about Hard Knocks, the cameras, what it's like, the PTSD it caused. Was it are you more used to it now? How did that go for you? Because I was even talking to Casario about it. Like, you guys have to hate having these cameras in your face, or do you?
No, yeah. I just after that experience, it's you'd rather not. Even the Giants life that they did, it's like, I'd rather just work in the dark, nobody see what we're doing, and the results hopefully speak for themselves. So you put yourself out there, and again, I'm not on social media, but everybody's got an opinion now. So by not doing some of that stuff, you don't put yourself out there, and we obviously did that a year ago. So I met my quota on that stuff.
I love that. With Jackson Dart, there is an idea on social media, I think even in the media, and supported by some creative video editing, that this pick of Jackson Dart was Daboll's. This is Daboll's guy. Is that what you want me to think, or is this your guy too?
No, it was an organizational decision. Any player that we take, it's a collaborative process, and it's very detailed, and we believe in it. So, Jackson's a guy that was on the radar throughout the fall. We were able to see play live, spend a lot of time with him at the Senior Bowl, as well this spring. So it helps when the head coach has an offensive background and has a history with developing quarterbacks. And then you throw in a Mike Kafka, who was there for Patrick Mahomes' rookie year, where he only played one game, and he got to see that development, and Shea Tierney, our quarterback coach. So 3 coaches on staff that have been a part of, the development of 2 pretty good quarterbacks in the league right now. And when they're convicted on a player and the scouting staff's convicted on a player, typically you have the best chance for success in those situations.
When in the process did y'all collaboratively know? Or really, I would just like to know you personally, because you're the GM. When did you know he was your guy?
Yeah, the week of the draft, the Monday before the draft, we had a final meeting, and it's like, now we have all the information. We've seen these guys multiple times. We've spent, we had dinners with them. We've been on campus. We've done private workouts, and we really sat down. And as the draft gets closer, you really start to narrow your circle. You want to eliminate outside voices. So my leadership group, along with a couple of the coaches, we sat down and we went through our final rankings. And that's when we started to devise a plan, whether we'd, go with, a player at 3 and then potentially tried to trade back into the first round. We had a pretty good idea that Abdul would be there at 3. And then, what were the other scenarios where, we could potentially acquire Jackson.
Congratulations on it. And the swing, the way you did it. I love it. There's so much being made about Jackson Dart's, like his moxie, like his sauce, like how he is, like the ball spinning and all of that. How do you see that? And is that a big deal in that locker room? Is that, can you break down his swag for me, coach? Not coach, but GM, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
And sometimes, some of those players that you see that maybe have some of the stuff that you used to have when you played. And, I think Dayball would probably have a little bit of the same moxie when he played. And I probably did too. So you like that. You like the competitiveness. He's competitive in anything that he does. You saw him when he got that bullseye. You're talking about the social media. So that was,
yeah.
Anything you do, he's uber competitive. We got ping pong tables in here, pool, whatever it is. He wants to win, and that shows up on film. The way he plays, the energy he plays, the toughness. You see him stand in the pocket, take hits, and still deliver the ball accurately. And then what really stood out was the leadership. I think some of that moxie can transcend across both sides of the football, leading not just the offensive guys, but the defensive guys, special teams, whoever it may be, and truly being the leader of that Ole Miss team. So, those are all traits that we covet and we look for. And, obviously it spills over, and he's a little bit outwardly with his emotion on the field. And mind that at all, because that can be contagious, whether it's amongst your teammates, the crowd, momentum, whatever it may be. You love the passion and toughness that he plays with.
Was it your goal, Joe, to create the most, I don't even know how to describe, unique, eclectic quarterback room ever?
No, I didn't approach it that way with that in mind. But again, having Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston have been great additions for us. Just 2 veteran guys that have played a long time. I mean, Russ is, I believe it's one of 7 quarterbacks that have been at 10 Pro Bowls and won a Super Bowl. And then Jameis Winston, former number 1 pick. So both of guys have been starting quarterbacks with organizations. They've led teams. They've been leaders of organizations. So to add the veteran presence along with the leadership on the offensive side of the ball and the ability for both of them to be vocal and, lead the young players and even some of the veterans, they've just been tremendous additions. And, I'm pleased with those guys and what they've done this far in the offseason program.
I haven't heard much about Jackson Dart's leadership. There's like so much other stuff going on. I like that you're sort of focusing on what he can be as a leader, but I'm also curious how he can balance that in a room with a bona fide Super Bowl champ and a Jameis Winston, who is somebody who is just magnetic and everybody loves. Like, how can he, and he's so young, how's that going to work? How can he be a leader in that room,
Yeah, Kay, it's hard for any of these young players to come in and lead. Maybe you were the man in your college or university, whatever it is, but a lot of these guys do a good job of coming in and they just kind of stay in their lane their rookie year. And again, these are grown men. Some people have wife and kids and they're 30. It's hard for a 21 or 22-year-old to come in and, really lead these guys. So I think some of it's feel, take the temperature of the room, when it's right to step up and say something, and that'll come with time. Again, some of the quarterbacks I've been around, it was year 2, year 3, before you truly become comfortable in your own skin and being vocal and leading, the guy. So for Jackson, he's in a unique situation that he can sit behind, a couple guys that have played at a high level and already had those leadership qualities and learn from those guys. And I think that'll just pay dividends, down the road in his career.
When you brought Jameis Winston in the meeting, take me to the meeting. Like, is it the most you've ever smiled in a meeting? Like, tell me about the Jameis Winston, Joe Schoen experience.
He's just awesome. Again, I just saw him from afar, so I didn't really know him, but sitting down and speaking with him and then watching him at practice every day, like, the guy's got energy. He's animated. I think he's hilarious. I think he's got a really good personality. I was just out on the field. They're out there right now, and he did a couple of things that made me laugh. So again, he's got a presence about him. He's got very good size. He can still throw it. He's got a great personality. So I've really enjoyed being around him and getting to know him.
Love that. What did he do today that made you laugh?
It's just, a guy dropped the ball. We had a redo, and he's out there like, in real life, we don't get a chance for redos. It's just, spontaneous.
Yeah.
And I was like, he's right. He's right. We don't get redos. So, but it's the off-season program, so we get redos. So just
And
little
he's
things.
he's such a hard worker. I mean, I think a Broadway director, I think like Lin-Manuel Miranda is going to approach you guys about buying the rights to the musical of that quarterback room. Like, I think it's going to be amazing. And I think it matters. I know you didn't plan on doing it, but like all of those personalities matter. Like, it matters to have the Alex Smith for Mahomes like that. It does. It matters. It matters a lot. But you need to get him a wide receiver, I hear, right? I'm excited. We're exploring some depth to the wideout room.
Yeah, it was reported that Gabe came in yesterday, and obviously I have history with him, having been in Buffalo when we drafted him, and Dave's was there, and then Chad Hall was his receiver coach in Buffalo and in Jacksonville, and we brought him up. He's our assistant quarterback coach now. So he's coming off an injury. He was cut by Jacksonville, so he came up for a visit. He hadn't been in New York or seen the facility or staff. So just a little get-to-know meeting yesterday, went out to dinner, and then, we'll see if anything transpires here down the road.
Okay, so you don't want to make any announcements. You could just do it, because there's some fun free agents. You don't want to say Gabe Davis to the Giants?
Yeah, there will be no announcements today.
I love that. This Scatterbo kid really takes the internet by storm. Obviously, there's things we know. He's a tough runner. He picks that number 44, which was sort of weird and such a fun little throwback. What's something that we're not talking about enough with Cam?
Yeah, with Cam, geez, I think everybody's seen the film, so you see how tough he is, how he runs, his play style, his balance and body control. What really stood out through the process with him is his football intelligence. He's a super smart kid. He picked up all the tests throughout our process very quickly, and then assimilating in with the veterans this week. He's just done a really good job picking up the nuances of the offense. And, he's ahead of a lot of rookies, I would say, that typically come into that position, but hard worker. What you see on film is what he's been, throughout the week in terms of, displaying the toughness and competitive nature that shows up on film.
Does Eli have an all access pass?
Eli?
Mm-hmm.
He's got an office here. It's
more for storage. Oh, I didn't know that.
Than him actually sitting in it or being in his office. But yeah, he's here often.
Do you think he'll be there very often? Like he has said a lot of things about Jackson. Of course, they have their connections. He's connected to the Giants anyway. Do you feel like he'll make his presence even more known and be more available?
I haven't spoke with him about it. He's pretty busy right now with his kids. Yeah. He's got kids involved in sports, so I know he's running around doing a lot of that stuff. I think a couple of kids do travel sports. So between him and his wife, they are spread pretty thin.
Yeah, I have to look up his, maybe his kids' footage on the social medias like I did yours. Last one for you. There's this idea that this NFL draft lottery could happen, should happen. What the NBA does is picking up a lot of steam this week. Would you be in favor of that?
I would not. I would not be in favor of that, specifically for the NFL. And typically, if you're picking up there, what's the most important position for a franchise? So if you're in that position, you've probably earned the right to hopefully get one of those players that can turn the luck around the franchise for potentially 15 to 20 years. So that's why I'd be in favor of that. I don't know enough about the NBA or followed enough, but I was watching that the other night, and I thought that was pretty intriguing when they showed up the percentage chance that Dallas would get the first pick. And then put myself in that GM seat after what happened with the trade and everything else. I'm like, boy, that worked out well for him. Couldn't have worked out any better.
Oh, Coach, I'm literally coughing. I can't even talk. I appreciate you so much. Thank you for taking a break. I'm going to cough. You're the best. Good luck this year.
Thanks for having
my
me.
gosh, Joe, you're the best.